Hi everyone, this is Jim. This is going to be my last video for this year, so I want to wish you all a happy New Year. Stay safe over the holiday, and I thought I might talk a little bit about my plans for next year. I plan to keep the same upload schedule I've been doing recently, which is 2 videos per week, and I plan to continue working on the series that I have going. I've got the opening basics series and the middle game series. In opening basics, I thought I would try and finish the D4, D5 openings, and maybe do one kind of overview video, maybe a repertoire video from the black point of view, how to meet D4 using D5, and different lines you can play from that point. And then go on to other openings after that, probably going back to E4 openings. I could do things like the French defense or the Caracan that I haven't covered yet. All I've covered so far in the E4 openings are the E4, E5 openings and the Sicilians. So that should keep me busy. And then in the middle game video series, I had the top 10 middle game ideas already planned out, so I just need to continue with that, and hopefully I would like to finish that series in the coming year. And in between, I will fill in with my usual Blitz games with live commentary and postmortems. Also, next year I hope to play in a number of over-the-board tournaments. I'll try and squeeze as many of those in as I can, and I will do those individual postmortems after the tournaments where I go over the games. Those seem to be pretty popular, so I guess people are interested in those real-life games and not just the Blitz games. So I will continue to do that as much as I can. So that's pretty much it for next year. If you have other suggestions or things you would like to see me cover, go ahead and make some comments to this video, and I will take a look at that. Anyway, I had a Blitz game I wanted to show you. This is another Blitz miniature. A miniature, by the way, is any chess game that lasts less than 25 moves. This one went on for 23, so for miniatures it was pretty long. My opponent started with d4, and I went d5. He went c4, and I went c6. So I'm playing the Slav defense, and then right here he takes. And that's not a very exciting move. That's I'll show you some very drawish lines later. It's considered to be not very much for white. So basically black should equalize out of this opening without too much difficulty. But I will say that I have known some players that play this as white, and they're pretty good players, and somehow they do manage to get some pressure. So that slight advantage of the opening move, I guess, can still amount for something even in a position like this, which looks completely symmetric. Well, let's go on with the game. A few moves. Knight to c3 was played. I went knight c6. Actually, knight to f6 is the more common move here, but we get back into the main line after knight f3, knight f6. And then here my opponent diverges from the main line by playing e3. But just to show you some lines in the exchange Slav, the top choice here by far is bishop to f4, and it makes a lot of sense. White is trying to get some immediate pressure, there's potentially he's targeting the sensitive c7 square with the knight and the bishop. But you can actually ignore this for a move. Bishop f5 is the main response, and if he tries this knight b5 trick to come in and fork, you have the move queen a5 check, and it doesn't win material, but it just drives the knight back. So basically, there's nothing gained there. So after bishop f5, the most common response is to then seal up the center. And then, believe it or not, this is a main line here, bishop d3. This must be something that's played by when two players have decided that neither of them wants to win. They're both happy with the draw, because it goes like this, and then black puts the bishop on d6 and white takes. And then both sides castle. And so we've gotten rid of the bishops. I don't know how they're planning to get rid of the knights, but obviously an entirely symmetric position and not much going on. So anyway, that's why that's one of the reasons, I suppose, why this is considered a drawish line here, the exchange Slav, a drawish opening. But let's see, black can play differently. You don't have to go symmetrically here, although if all you want is a draw, I suppose that's a fine way to play. if you want to put a little asymmetry in, you could start with the move a6 here. Let's see, where is that? a6. And then that's, like I said, that's not needed immediately to keep the knight out of b5, but it's a handy move because a knight b5 might become a threat later, and now you don't have to worry about it. So after e3, you could bring the bishop out to g4 instead of doing exactly the same thing as white does. So white would probably break that pin, then you play e6. White can castle now, and you could go bishop e7. So if you just avoid opposing, the bishops and opposing the rooks, I don't know, the rooks will probably end up getting opposed on the c file anyway. Rook to c1 is a logical move, and then black castles. So this kind of position, it seems like white has kind of gained a tempo because white got in that one developing move, rook c1, whereas black played the move a6. But black might follow up with b5 and b4 and harass this knight under some circumstances. And in general, this position is not so open that the loss of that one tempo seems like a bad thing. So by keeping all the pieces on, there's just more tension and more play in the position. So you can play for a more complicated game if you want to. You don't have to trade everything off. Here, let's go back to the game. In this position, instead of playing that bishop f4 move, my opponent went e3, went bishop g4, he went bishop b5, and we're actually out of the opening book at this point, but already after e3, it was a very rare position. But I just close the center here. My bishop is outside the pawn chain, so I think I'm in good shape. He castled. I played bishop d6. Yeah, I guess we can pause here. I think this has been an opening success for black. It's still probably an even position, but I've got my pieces actively posted. I'm pretty comfortable with this. And the next move, actually, the chess engine thinks the best move for white is to retreat the bishop back to e2. So I guess it doesn't see this bishop out here on b5 doing all that much. But my opponent continues to play on the queen side. He brings his queen out to b3. And so this allows me, I could take the knight on f3 here and mess up his pawn structure. But I would give up the bishop pair if I did that. So I just went ahead and castled. Both those moves, by the way, are given by the chess engine as good moves and leaving black with a significant edge. So white has already somehow gone astray here. And now maybe I am thinking of taking there. He decides to solve that problem in kind of an interesting way. He takes my knight off. This gives up the bishop pair. And then he plays knight e5. Now I could just retreat my bishop to f5. I didn't realize that. I thought I had to worry about knight takes c6. But I guess after, say, bishop f5, knight takes c6, I could play queen to c7 with a double attack on the knight and the pawn on h7. So he's not actually threatening to take that. So bishop f5 here is a way to keep the bishop pair if I wanted to, and then I could later defend the c-pawn at some point. And that would be fine. I decided to take here. I probably was a little worried about him taking the c-pawn. I don't know if I spotted that idea that it wasn't really threatened. But this is also good. It gives back the bishop pair, but it gives me more center control. I have more pawns in the center, and he has his funny doubled e-pawn. So this is good for black still. Let's see, he played h3, kicking my bishop, went to f5, and then he played g4, kicking my bishop. So he does start to play ambitiously at this point. At first I thought maybe he was just going for the draw, but he's now kind of setting himself up for a kingside attack. But actually this move g4 was a blunder, and black has a good move in this position. Although, let's see, if you look at it deeply enough, I think you might be a little hesitant to play this move. I think you'd have to be a computer to play this way. But if you want to, it's a nice puzzle. See if you can spot the best move for black here. And also, yeah, see how deeply you can calculate it. I'm going to give the answer away, so pause the video now if you want time to think about it. The chess engine finds the move, bishop to d3. So that's kind of logical. You move the bishop with tempo so that you can take this pawn. But the rook can counterattack the bishop. And then, well, if you move the bishop back, you haven't gained much. So, but the way to keep the advantage is to take the pawn. And the reason why I say you have to be kind of, you have to be pretty sharp to play this way, or a computer, is because now white can throw in the move f4. And it's looking like you're losing material here, right? He's attacking the knight, and the bishop is hanging, so you can't hold everything together. But what the chess engine finds is that queen to h4 is just a winning attack. So it's willing to sacrifice the knight for the attack here. And it's logical. Now that I've seen it on the board here, the computer pointed it out to me. I mean, look at all white's pieces are over here on the queen side. He has not a single piece on this half of the board here. Kind of amazing. But it is open. I mean, it's not obvious to me just looking at it that this is going to be a winning attack. I mean, after he grabs the knight, I've only got 2 pieces in the attack, and there are open lines from the queen side back to the king side. It's not one of those positions where the communication between the sides of the board is messed up. But anyway, the chess engine is pretty confident that black is just winning here. I guess if you take the knight, the queen coming into g3 is a pretty big threat. So anyway, one line, just to show you an example of the brain of the computer, is king to g2, and then it wants to play the move knight f3, another move that I would not have thought of. So you're giving up the bishop and the knight. He could take either one, but well, if he takes the bishop, knight to e1 is a fork and gets the bishop, well, wins a rook. So you're just up the exchange there. And if king takes knight, then you have queen takes here, check, and between the queen and the bishop chasing the king around in this area, you have a winning attack. So kind of amazing, but anyway, I guess not too surprising when you consider that all of white's pieces were over on the other side of the board. But anyway, not something I could find in a blitz game, but kind of cute, I thought. So I just retreated my bishop to g6. He went f4, so he's advancing on the king side, trying to squash my bishop. Played h6. And then he brought his queen back to d1. He wasn't really threatening to push this pawn forward. I thought he was, but actually I could take it. He takes back, and my bishop has a good square on h5. So this is not a big threat to push these pawns at the moment. He just brought his queen back to start supporting this kingside attack, so that's a good move. I go knight c5. I'm trying to centralize my knight, get it back in the game. And, you know, I'm also looking at his weakened king side in this, particularly this dark squared diagonal leading to the king there. Let's see, he went rook f2. He's lifting his rook to bring it into the attack. But he has neglected the development of his dark squared bishop, so this rook is shut out of the game. So his play is still a bit suspicious, and the chess engine still prefers black here by quite a bit. Let's see, I went knight e4. Forking the rook and the knight. Oh, the knight's defended. I mean, he could just move the rook, but he decided to trade off that knight, which I admit would be an annoying piece, so probably not a bad decision. And now he goes rook h2. He's going to try and attack along the h-file, I guess, and he couldn't go to g2 because the bishop covers that square. And now I played queen to b6 here, but actually, once again, there's a better move here if you want to see if you can spot the best move for black. Okay, pause the video if you want time to think about it. It's similar to the last line. The queen coming to h4 is setting up this idea of the queen coming into g3, and he actually can't prevent that. The queen is going to get to g3. His queen can't go to this square, for example. This is where the lack of development is causing him trouble. The queen is undefended on the back rank, and his rook can't go to that square because it's covered by the bishop. So the queen is coming into g3, and I can start chasing the king around and probably mopping up some pawns there, if nothing else. Anyway, another a winning attack according to the chess engine. Anyway, I had this other idea. I was looking at this dark squared diagonal. I played queen to b6, also keeping an edge. Let's see, he goes h forward. He goes h4, pushing the h-pawn forward. I went rook f to d8. I'm thinking of pushing my d-pawn forward to open up this diagonal here. He goes g5. And now I play a move which is probably wrong. So up to this point, I've kept that strong advantage. But the next move kind of leads me into pretty much an equal position. I guess I was worried about him opening up the G file here, but I was forgetting that I have control of the G file with my bishop, or at least control of the G2 square, so I didn't really need to do that move. Anyway, to keep an advantage, the chess engine suggests I could play a5 here, just push some pawns forward on the queen side. Probably not what I was thinking. I was still thinking more about what to do against the king in the center here, or the open king position. He's not in the center, but if I can open up the center, I can get to his king. Let's see. But I played king f8. He went b3. And I went d5, which is the move I'd been planning. And now this is kind of the critical moment of the game. He can keep it even by playing the move bishop to a3. Just, he's opened up that diagonal for the bishop. He could exploit that with a tempo. That's why king f8 was not such a great move. And after I move the king, he can put the bishop here on d6, which kind of shuts my rook out of the game and makes it possible for him to take this pawn on d5 safely. He didn't do that. He took the pawn immediately, and that just loses. So if you want to find the winning move for black, this time I found the move. So it's one move and then white resigned. Okay, pause the video if you want time to think about it. I'm going to give the answer away now. The answer is rook takes d4. That's the winning move. If you take with the queen, it just trades everything out, and it's really just an even position. So rook takes is the only move here, but it's a killer move. It's got two threats. One is there's a discovered attack on the king, so whenever that rook moves, it goes with a discovered attack. And the second threat is just to take the queen. And, well, the important thing to notice is that if the queen just moves somewhere away from the action just to be safe, and also still keeping an eye on the d1 square, so not totally absurd idea, but just to get away from any discovered attacks from the rook, you play this move, rook to d1, and that is checkmate. It's a double check. It doesn't matter that the queen can take the rook, and the queen and the bishop and the rook are taking away all the squares of the king, so it's just mate. And the only way to stop that mate is to give up the queen in one way or another. The chess engine suggests moves like queen f1 or queen e1, so it's no longer a double check. He could also move the king, but in all of these cases, I end up winning the queen for a rook, if nothing better. So anyway, a nice finish to that game, and I like that discovered checkmate pattern. So I hope you guys like this, and once again, wishing you a happy new year, and I will see you again soon.